let's talk about the 14 books I read in April. Hi, I'm Olivia. This is AV Club. Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. Glad you're here. If you're new, I'm usually talking about horror books, litfic, weird books, things in that realm. But today I have a little bit of all of that to talk about in my April reading wrap up. We are over 600 subscribers now, which is like so awesome. I feel like I'm kind of on track to hit my goal of 1,000 this year. So thank you everyone for helping make that happen whenever you watch the whole video, whenever you're liking the video, commenting on the video. That's something I'm so grateful for. I love the chatting. I really, this past month, loved the chatting on Seven Moons of Maali Almeida in Murdered Soul Suspect Book Club live chat thing, which is in the future always open to everyone, even if you haven't read the book. I just love for people to come say hey, but I loved all the comments there. I loved getting to talk both about the book, but also just like silly things that come up along the way, as well as I really appreciated the comments this past month, giving me a little bit of insight on the Australian library system and acquisitions. And yeah, I had multiple comments on this, and it was lovely. I love learning new things. But the reads this month are a mix of arcs and horror and new releases, and my Stella Prize long list short list reads kind of a little bit of everything, but erring on the side of recency. And so again, just ranking these from my least favorite to my most favorite of the month, and these go from a 2-star to a 5-star. So not a bad reading month. And 14 reads is probably the most I've finished in a while. So yeah, April was good. So my least favorite this month was an arc that I got from Netgalley, and that was How to Survive Camping: The Lady in Chains by Bonnie Quinn. Whenever I requested and was approved for this, I was not aware that it was a sequel. This is someone who is got their start on R No Sleep, and I did my due diligence and read the first book. I don't think it would have been necessary, but yeah, I read the first book, which was The Man with No Shadow, I believe, and that was like a 3-star for me, and this one was a little bit less likable. So these books are supposed to be kind of like a cozy horror. It's set at a campsite by the not camp counselor, it's like like a national park type campsite, not summer campsite. Her family has run this place for a long time, and there are monsters in these woods, and they're well aware of them, and there's rules that they have to follow so that they do not anger the monsters and cause campers to die, etc. And I think that's an awesome premise, and it was set to be like a welcome to Night Vale. I love the conceit of like having the rules to follow, or these like weird cryptid things are going to come get you. But I don't feel like the tone worked for me. The first one worked a little bit better. Like it was kind of like funny and cozy at the beginning, and then we were just like following this main character action, action, action. And this is true of the second book as well, where it's a lot of just like I blank to the blank, I blank blank, and it was just like very repetitive sentence structure. And the second one did not have like the coziness or funniness that the first one did. And yeah, it was just like a big nothing burger for me. Like it didn't deliver on any front. Some of the characters are really interesting. Like I like the concept of these different characters. If this was a book that was adapted into some sort of like visual form, I would read it as a comic. I would watch it as an animation. Like there's something there that is likable to me. But the actual writing of the book does nothing for me. And yeah, I didn't feel like it had any ambiance or any coziness. It wasn't funny. The main character is nothing. Like there's no, I'm okay with like this kind of episodic story. Like the next book is like already written and coming out. This must be popular. This must be very popular with someone for these books to get like advanced like this. But yeah, I don't know who it would be for. I didn't like it, and I can't think of like the people that I follow that have like slightly different tastes. I don't see them liking it. I just don't know who the target audience is. It almost reads like children's lit or like middle grade or YA, but it is not. It's like about an adult character, and there's like adult things going on, but it's just like written in such a simplistic writing style. I can't get behind it, can't recommend it, but appreciate getting approved for an arc. And hopefully if this is something that is for you, then hopefully I gave you information and you can do with it what you will. The next one is Coup de Grâce by Sofia Ajram. And I didn't know what to think about this because I've seen not great reviews of this, but no one is talking about why. And I thought that it sounded interesting. Like, it is like about liminal spaces. It's this guy who has kind of set about his day wanting to end his life, and then he like ends up in this like endless subway system that he can't get out of. And the idea of being locked inside liminal spaces is very interesting to me. So I didn't know why people might not like it. And whenever I listen to it, I listen to it on audiobook. And I would say that the act of listening to this on audiobook is an actively hostile experience. It is definitely not meant to be read on audiobook. And yeah, I will just like kind of spoil this book real quick, or spoil the conceit of it real quick, the quirk to it that a lot of people don't like, because I feel like it would be helpful if you are considering reading this. I think that if you're considering reading this, that this won't spoil. I don't know. Like, I don't think that having known this, it would have affected me wanting to read it or not. So here it is. If you don't want to hear it, you can just skip ahead. This book at about the 80% mark just turns into a choose your own adventure story, which, yeah, if you're unsuspecting and listening to an audiobook, you just have to listen to every part of it in chronological order and not skip around. It was just like, it was very hard to listen to. But I think that one of the biggest things about this book is that it is like very overwritten. Like, I love some beautiful language. This one, it is like trying so hard to sound smart that it ends up like not really conveying anything. And the whole book is kind of a metaphor for depression and like being stuck in like these cycles. So if you want to think of the language like that, and that it's like kind of like a snake eating its own tail and never getting anywhere, then maybe you could take it that way and it would be positive. However, yeah, it just didn't really get anywhere interesting for me. I didn't enjoy listening to it. I didn't enjoy the way the language was put together, nor did I really feel like it added up to be something more powerful by the end of it. And yeah, I mean, obviously, listening to it on audiobook was not the best way to listen to it, but I wouldn't have liked it even if I'd read it with my eyeballs. So, yeah. This next one, I am shocked that this book is so far down in my list because I have loved books from this author previously, and that is Ashley Winstead's The Future Saints. Ashley Winstead, I've talked about multiple times on this channel because I loved In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and I loved The Last Housewife. Those were both thrillers, and this is a contemporary fiction. But because I loved those books previously and they were thrillers and she had made them more complex than the typical thriller, I thought I would get on well with her having like a general fiction type book. This, though, didn't cut it for me. The Future Saints is kind of like it feels like it would be like a modern day Daisy Jones and the Six. It follows a main character who her sister has died. There have been so many dead sisters in books I've read recently. I don't know what's going on, but every single book I read has a dead sister in it. And it's about her band, and she almost is like, I guess, kind of like a Lana Del Rey figure in this story too, because her band has been like doing they're about to get like cut from their label. They haven't been doing well when all of a sudden they go viral, and this girl is so sad. And so people just like fall in love with her because they love a sad girl and they just relate to her so much. And yeah, we're following like her point of view as well as like the manager who has been like assigned to kind of like let them go from the label. But then they start to go viral, and so then they get support, and but she's still not doing well even with these new levels of fame, obviously. So I mean, it just goes to all of the like expected places for it to go. There was nothing unexpected in this. Like, I know it's not a thriller, but like there needs to be something other than like okay, imagine in your head a story about a young woman singer who is sad. Her sister's died. She feels kind of responsible for it. She gets access to more stuff, but not to ways of healing. And where all do you think the story's going to go? And also like the manager figure, like will they, won't they? Like, it just was a little bit too simplistic for me. I didn't connect to any of the characters. I didn't feel like any of them felt real. And yeah, I was disappointed in this. Like, I will definitely still continue to read Ashley Winstead's thrillers, but like, girl, what happened here? I don't know. I don't know. It just felt like, why did you want to tell this story? Like, there was no passion it felt in the book. And so yeah, a disappointment. Another sister relationship book, this one, Just Watch Me by Lior Torenberg, I talked about in a standalone kind of book review video, but also about like the idea of social media in books. Like, does social media in books ever work? Because in this one, for me, it didn't. There was something where it was supposed to be like Twitch. It was a live streaming website app, and Dell Danvers is our main character, and she decides to live stream her whole life because she has no money and it's just like something to do. And yeah, she pretty quickly gets into eating spicy things on camera, that she notices that she gets reactions. What, Daisy? She notices that she gets a pretty instant positive feedback for eating a jalapeno on camera, and then it just escalates from there, eating spicier and spicier things because it just like gives her some sort of feedback about her life that she feels like is going nowhere. Her sister is in a coma. Her mom is always begging her to go see her. We know that for some reason, like, she feels hesitant to go see her sister. Like, there might be some sort of guilt there or something like that. And yeah, so she's just kind of like avoiding her family and really like any real connections. But yeah, I just didn't feel like, I mean, it was just mid. Like, I think I gave this 3 stars. It was not bad, and I was entertained, and I think I read it mostly in like one sitting. Like, I was definitely entertained. But I don't know. I just didn't feel like it had anything new to say about social media, or I don't know. Like, I think the biggest thing for me was how it did the social media stuff. Like, it was trying to explain Twitch like 1,000 times, and it's like, girl, like, anyone reading this is going to know how live streaming works, how direct messages work. Like, we understand that. It just felt like it was explaining something from a manual in the middle, and it just didn't. And it repeated it so many times. I was like, we don't need to repeat this information so many times. Like, it just took me out of feeling like it was a good book. You know what I mean? Like, you just get that feeling like this is an unskillful section of this book in a way that's going to hamper my enjoyment of the rest of the book. And it did it a few times. Like, I would read that, I would be annoyed, and then it would get back into the interesting parts of the book, and then it would go back to just like repeating a Wikipedia article on how live streaming websites work. And yeah, so that didn't do anything for me. Ugh, I'm crushed. I just reviewed 3 books and my mic had cut out, but they are all books that I reviewed before. And so I will direct you to watching my Stella Prize short list review video if you are interested in hearing longer thoughts about these. But Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks, a memoir on grief. Liked it, found it very readable, as I find most memoirs, just because I'm interested in people. However, didn't really have any kind of like transformative quality that make it a very recommendable memoir or nonfiction. And then Thunderhead and Fireweather by Miranda Darling are 2 companion novels that have kind of a stream of consciousness, almost psychedelic tone to them. Very, very stylish books about feminism, about motherhood, about just being a woman and the powers that you have or don't have in a house. And it really is about like this very stylish experience of like being locked in this woman's mind for 2 days, or one day each, I guess, of each of these books. You don't have to read Thunderhead to read Fireweather, but why wouldn't you? They're pretty short and they have the most beautiful covers. And yeah, just liked Fireweather a little bit more, but I cannot bring myself to talk for 15 more minutes on these books that I just talked about whenever my mic died. So that's unfortunate. And yeah, moving on. Uh 8114 by Joshua Hull. This is a horror book that I was so into in the beginning, and it did stay spooky throughout, but I love something about a podcast, and this was like a podcast that the main character had made that was about a boy that had gone missing, a boy he went to high school with that had gone missing. And like it starts that he is in trouble, the podcaster, because the reason that the boy and his family went missing is because they were like had tried to vanish so that his father couldn't find them. And so it's like he had made up all this hullabaloo about like finding this guy that did not want to be found because they didn't want to be found by his father. And so he is like going back to his childhood home, and whenever he's there, someone he knew has killed themselves. And the weird thing is that they did it in his childhood home. And so he starts a new podcast that is about like exploring this and figuring out why this would have happened and why in his childhood home. And again, bringing all this attention around whenever he was like unsuccessful within the first place. So yeah, it is something where the main character, you're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? But I like an unlikable main character, and unlikable main characters like this that make decisions that don't really make sense are kind of what make good horror novels, because they're always like doing stuff. But this one is spooky. There are witches. It is very haunted, weird, ghosty baby children kind of stuff. Very like an interesting take on a haunted house. I found it enjoyable, but probably not something that's gonna like stick with me in the long run. But you may hear me talk about it again in the future if if I'm talking about podcast horror books, because that is something that I like. Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen is a book that I also talked about a lot in a reading vlog that will, I guess, never see the light of day, because I had spent hours um editing together this vlog, and it was just cursed. It was cursed from the beginning. I started this vlog because Daniel was going to be at jury duty for weeks while he was on vacation. I was like, well, what am I going to do all day at home by myself? Let me try doing a reading vlog because it's something I want to learn how to do. But just haven't, but I'll be at home. And I mean, this is overall a very positive thing, but he didn't have to go to jury duty. He got dismissed like on the first day. And so then it was like, okay, we're not doing that. And then I still tried to keep going with it, but then Daisy had like a health scare, and I mean, there was just like forces were against me, and I was still trying to edit this reading vlog together. And then like two of like these like long clips at the end of me summing up books for two different books, like two of the biggest clips had no audio. And the mic situation, I don't really know what's going on, but yeah, I was like, what is even the point of this if I have to do like a voiceover, or I don't know. I learned about editing together vlogs and stuff from it. So it's not like it was like a completely wasted experience. But I did talk about this book. I read and talked about this book quite a lot. So kind of unfortunate, but it ends up being okay, because I don't really think that I will be talking about this book a lot in the future. But Patricia Wants to Cuddle, it's kind of set on a bachelor like reality show. There are four girls that are vying for the catch's heart. But the only real likable character is Renee, who doesn't like him and isn't interested in him. And it's like, how did you even get in the top four whenever you didn't care about this thing either? I mean, she is also like disenchanted because she overheard like the producer saying like, they were going to push her to the finale because she's the only black girl. And so she's like, that sucks. Rightly so. She's like, that sucks. But I'm like, why were you even there? Like, you don't even like him though. So why were you even there? From both of the covers, like both the UK and the American cover, that it's somehow about like Bigfoot. But the horror and the Bigfoot don't come in for like 75, 80, more than halfway through the book. And then there's like very little like actual horror until like the end is a wild ride, but there was just like kind of nothing going on. You would follow the different girls. It's not like you were only following Renee. And so the fact that they were all kind of vapid and like single faceted, it didn't really feel like a complete novel to me. Like it just felt like the beginning to an idea of something, but like I don't know what the point was in making so many characters that had no personality. And Renee doesn't really have like a strong personality either. The main character is kind of like being in the Pacific Northwest where the show is set, and being in that environment, like that was my favorite part of it. And it was like a very entertaining read. Like I did read this mostly in one sitting, but that was all in the hopes that it would pay off, and I don't know that it did. But like I love reading a reality show book, and so like if you also like that kind of thing, like you are probably going to be entertained. But it is not something that I necessarily would say like this is a book that everyone needs to read. But like there's probably a mood that a lot of people would be in where they might want to read that. Mrs. Jekyll by Emma Glass. This was a fantastically written book, a little novella, and it is like a contemporary Jekyll and Hyde situation with this very ill woman, that she has cancer and there's so many things that she feels like she can't do now. But then there is like this like Jekyll like figure too. But this is a book like if you love beautiful writing, and if you love something that is like dark and that is about like an older female character and power and things along those lines, like I think that this was so well written. And yeah, it was so much about being in the moment of the language for me, rather than like it having these like big plot beats that made it addictive in that way. It was just like so easy to get swept away in the writing of it. Just beautiful. Little Plum by Laura McPhee-Browne, also one that you come to for beautiful language. Laura McPhee-Browne wrote one of my favorite books, Cherry Beach, which I read years ago and is like, oh, like a sapphic yearning book, which is probably my single favorite type of book. Little Plum, however, is about a woman who becomes pregnant after like a one night stand and is just trying to take care of her mental health. She decides she wants to keep this baby for whatever reason, and she goes to Poland with her best friend for her best friend's reasons. But it is a lot about like her having OCD and thinking about this baby all the time. I didn't love it quite as much as Cherry Beach. I think that the themes of this were not things that usually I jump to in books. Like I don't jump to pregnancy stories, but I think that it's like a wonderful. I think wonderful choices were made in how to talk about it, and I'm definitely happy to have read it. I'm really excited to read Worried All that she has coming out later this year. So yeah, it is like it feels so detached sometimes. Like it is like the book keeps you at arm's length, and it feels so fragile at times. Like I'm reading it and it's like, do you even want me to be reading this? Like it feels so fragile. Like you cannot even touch, like the sentences are put together so like it's like they're made of glass or or powder snow. Like if you just touch it, it'll all vanish. I don't know how to describe what was actually happening that gave it that feeling, but it just feels like so not dainty, just like that herself and her personhood were like being held together like with like the tightest string, thinnest string, and it could all just like break. So it has like that kind of level of tension to it, just because it just feels like everything could collapse at any second. So definitely still a must-read author for me. And we're getting up to the final 3 books. So my third best book of the month was The Curse of Hester Gardens by Tamika Thompson. I have not really seen reviews of this. I got an ARC of this, an ALC actually, from NetGalley. So, thank y'all for that. This one is about gun violence in the United States. They live in government housing, and it is about like this woman who has these like 2 sons. Like her husband had been so like loving and protective of them and was just like, this like beautiful warm husband, and then she finds out, this is the very beginning of the story, she finds out that he is like doing gun crimes to take care of them, and that he is like a completely different person outside of their home. And so he is like in prison the whole story, but it is so much about like the specter of gun violence, and it feels kind of like Candyman in like the urban horror sense, where you feel all of these people like packed in close together, and that it is kind of like a community that is not supported in the way that it should be. And there's the threat of violence at schools and at home, and it was just so haunting, and I felt like it was done so well, both from the real life social issues it was talking about, as well as being like a very convincing ghost story, spiritual horror. It just had the ambiance and the vibes completely on point for me. And yeah, I haven't heard people talk about this one, but it's very good, very sad. Obviously, because it is like about gun violence, and so it's just like depressing, but not like overly so. Like it is not like grim dark and like making everything overly grim for the sake of it. It feels like a realistic take on it. And then The Seven Moons of Maali Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka. And this was our Gigi No reread pick for the first quarter of the year, which was just a little bit delayed, both on Trevor's part and then losing Roland at the end of March when we usually would have recorded. So a little bit behind on that, but I loved this book. Again, a very complicated story. It is about this man, this war photographer in 1990 in Sri Lanka, and he has been killed. He is dead at the beginning of this, and he has to figure out who killed him. And that was also the loose plot of Murdered Soul Suspect that we talked about it together with, which just makes both texts so much richer whenever you get to do a comparative lit situation. But yeah, he doesn't know why he was killed. It could be for political reasons, it could be because he is gay, it could be because he had gambling debts. Like, he doesn't know, so he has to like go through this whole story figuring out all of those relationships again, and figuring out like the complicated political history of Sri Lanka in it. Like, it is so detail rich with that. And at first you're like, am I going to be able to follow this? Like, I don't know about Sri Lankan politics in the 1990s or really any time. So can I follow this? And yeah, it gives you everything you need to know, but it doesn't take a simplistic take on any of it. It is like, there are no good guys here, and there's no one really to root for. It is so much about what living a good life means, and what making change in the world really means as a person, and also just like has those questions of like, what is a good death? When you're thinking about all of the reasons he could have died, is there one as the reader that you're rooting for? Like, it feels metafictional in that sense. But yeah, I just felt like all the way through it was so solid. We had great discussions on it. We had a live show on it, so you can check that out if you want to. But there's also the podcast episode, which is a little bit more dense with discussions of it, whereas like the live show book chat is just fun hangout time. Definitely see why so many people love this book. And then my best book of the month was The Rot by Evelyn Araluen. I did talk about this in my Stella Prize shortlist reviews as well. But this was just so powerful. It is about girlhood in the current day and about living in such an ugly world. And Evelyn Araluen is a First Nations author living in Australia, and she's talking about it from the sense of living in colonized Australia, as well as a lot talking about Palestine and watching all this stuff on TV and watching like the levels of violence and hatred, etc., in the world, and how making sense of it. But she is just like so angry in this poetry collection, and it is so cathartic to be reading from the perspective of someone who is so angry, because I do feel like that's the correct response. Like, it's, sickening to feel like you're just supposed to just tune everything out whenever it is like so bleak. There, I mean, everything is just really, really bleak, both from like what people have come to just accept as being okay levels of violence in the world, as well as, everything that is depressing about being online, about AI. Gosh, like it is just, it's not looking good. It is not looking good. So yeah, I just felt like the language was just so beautiful. The poetry was diverse. Like, there were so many different forms that she used, where some were more traditional poems, rhyming poems, etc., and then goes sometimes into almost just like essay and poetic prose. So really a wonderful collection, and I want to get to other things that she has written. I will say that I don't know what the status of this book is, because Evelyn Araluen did say that she is no longer working with UQP, University of Queensland Press, which is who put this out, because they decided to pulp a story written by an Aboriginal author, a children's book about water, about rivers and life, because of her support for Palestine. So that is something to note. And I haven't followed up. Like, I don't think she's saying to boycott or not buy her book, but that she's just no longer working with them in the future. But something to note. Okay, so as far as goals, I read 8 physical books this month, which is great. I think that's it has to be my most of the year so far, and that's one of my goals. 1 nonfiction, 1 big book. I would count this as a big book. I think over 400 pages. Like, maybe I originally meant 500 pages, but we're going to count 400 pages as a big book. 5 Aussie books, and a little bit of untrackable reading. What untrackable reading did I do? I guess probably stuff on Sri Lankan politics, but nothing that I took notes on this month. So we'll have to remedy that in May. So yeah, that's everything that I read in April. Thank you so much for being here, for all the support. I appreciate it so much. And yeah, I will be back to talk again about books very soon. Bye.